Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Northern Plains Water Voice. I'm your host, David Kringen. Earlier this spring, I spent some time with Chris Cheek, assistant professor with the SDSU Department of Natural Resource Management. Chris wanted to talk about fish communities in South Dakota, but instead of taking me to a lake or river, we ended up standing in the middle of a gravel road. So naturally, I had to ask him why. Welcome to the Water Voice, Chris.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for having me.
So why exactly are we out here?
Well, today I'm going to talk a little bit about how roads fragment aquatic ecosystems.
For stream fishes, movement isn't optional, it's essential. Many species need to migrate upstream to spawn, find cool water refuges during the hot summer months, or move downstream to overwinter. However, human infrastructures such as dams and road crossings can fragment river ecosystems, creating barriers to fish movement that limit fish's ability to find food, avoid predators, and complete their life cycles. When we think about barriers to fish movement, we often picture large dams, which are obvious barriers. Yet smaller structures, such as road crossings and low-head dams, can also limit movement and are more abundant in stream systems. Road crossings, where roads and streams intersect, can greatly vary in their design, condition, and their subsequent effect on fish movements. Properly designed and maintained crossings, such as bridges and box culverts, tend to be passable by most fish species. However, road crossings that pass through steel tube culverts can often greatly limit fish passage. When culverts are too small, poorly aligned, or perched above the stream bed, they disrupt the natural flow of water and create barriers that fish simply can't swim across. The most problematic culverts are those that create high water velocities, shallow water depths, or vertical drops at the outlet, a condition known as perching. These conditions make passage impossible for many native fishes, especially our small-bodied or juvenile individuals. In order to address a problem of this magnitude, fisheries and aquatic resource managers must identify problematic road crossings and prioritize which road crossings are the most impactful to fish movement.
But the real problem with this is, like, when we think about those large dams, we know where they are, and they're pretty static. Once you put in Gavin's Point, it's going to be there, it's not going anywhere. But with roads, they're much more dynamic, and there's a lot more of them on the landscape. So in South Dakota, we've got about 75,000 road stream crossings across the state. So you can imagine just trying to understand which ones might be barriers and which ones might be the most important is a pretty big task for us to take on. A lot of these are going to be fine for fish movement, so we just need to know which ones are the problems. And then from that set, kind of decide, are there some that would be the most beneficial to replace? And through that process, we ended up partnering with a group called the Southeastern Aquatic Resource Partnership. And that group had created a standardized protocol for measuring the stream and the road crossing. And really what we're doing is comparing the part of the stream that has a crossing with another reach that doesn't, so typically upstream. And we're comparing how much does this road crossing reach of the stream deviate from kind of an ideal scenario for fish passage. And in the end, we get an estimate of the severity of this barrier on fish movement. And so Colton went out and surveyed about 500 road stream crossings in eastern South Dakota, identified like 120 of those that were barriers of some level, so kind of from a moderate to severe. He found 127 road crossings that were barriers to fish movement, and all of that work has been done in this national program. So any data that we produced on road stream crossings all goes into this national database, and anyone, hopefully we'll have a link attached here to the video, but you can go to that link and see what has been surveyed and what has been identified as a potential barrier to fish movement. And we can use that data not only to just kind of understand what the landscape looks like, but we can also use it, and there are tools built into this program to actually say, okay, how do we prioritize these? So we can use criteria like, the presence of an endangered species, the quality of the habitat, or how many miles of stream would we reconnect if we did, reconstruct or mitigate that barrier in some way. So really what the idea is, like, how do we get the most conservation value with the least number of crossings fixed or the least amount of money spent on that project. All of this work has been very collaborative. So these projects were funded by the Fish and Wildlife Service, closely worked and funded by South Dakota Game Fish and Parks through the State Wildlife Grant Program. And then these partnerships with our Southeastern Aquatic Resource Partnership have been really, really vital in making this work happen, and not just here in South Dakota, but nationwide.
Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more right here on the Northern Plains Water Voice.